Okay, we're going to try this on. Now, this is my backup page, so the audience participation, just as a warning, will be less. But we're going to be talking about the Candace Owens documentary. Most of you probably have not seen it. Being candid, your humble correspondent, yours truly, I have yet to see it, but I'm always interested in works by Candace Owens. Not that I'm a huge fan under the guise that I believe that she's accurate, telling the truth, trying to wake up the black community or anything like that. I don't preach that sort of nonsense. However, I do believe Candace Owens is a very intelligent talking head. She's biased in terms of coming to us from the right side of the aisle. However, I do like hearing from her. So apparently she has a documentary out now criticizing two major issues that have been all over the news. One being a lot of the funding raised by the organization known as Black Lives Matter. Apparently there was a significant amount of fraud with literally millions of dollars that folks donated to the Black Lives Matter organization. In addition to that, apparently from what I'm hearing, and I plan to watch the documentary, I believe it's on the Daily Wire, and I didn't catch it last night because you got to subscribe and pay for it, but for the sake of argument, I believe it's $10 or something like that. I'll throw $10 out there to watch a Candace Owens production. I paid money to watch 2,000 Mules. My audience tends to lean right, as you know. My audience, for the most part, is MAGA. I always enjoy talking to MAGA. So to hear from Candace Owens in regards to the documentary, I don't have a problem forking over a few bucks. It would be worth a spirited debate to see what she's talking about. Now, she is suggesting, in regards to George Floyd, the second event that's been all over the news in addition to the Black Lives Matter shit, she's suggesting that George Floyd did not pass away in the way that Derek Chauvin, the Minneapolis officer, has been held accountable and convicted for. She's suggesting, apparently from what I've heard in the documentary, and I'll make it clear again, I have not yet seen the documentary. I will see it later tonight. But I've been in other conservative lives speaking to conservatives, speaking to Republicans, as you know, and as you know I love to do, speaking to MAGA. I have been in other lives, and apparently she is suggesting that George Floyd died either of a drug overdose or something of his own doing. Why Candace Owens in October of 2022 would be relitigating the George Floyd trial, death, or whatever you want to call it, can only be viewed as an attempt at sensationalism. It's going to sell some tickets to her documentary because yours truly, I plan on watching it. But mainly so I can feel more in tune to the conversations being had by my conservative followers and people on the right. Now, at the end of the day, Candace Owens, for the most part, is a talking head that generally preaches to the choir. She's not opening up hearts and minds, opening up eyes like some folks suggest that, well, she's allowing, she's waking up black folks. No, she's not. She is preaching to an audience that already feels the way she is expressing. And it is always refreshing to hear someone tell you that what you feel is correct. You put on your favorite outfit and you go out in the street and you get compliments. You already knew you look sharp as hell in the mirror. It feels good to get complimented and told, yes, what you felt when you looked at yourself in the mirror is damn sure accurate. That is Candace Owens. Candace Owens is speaking to an audience that already feels the way she's suggesting. So it's not like she's waking up hearts and minds. Now, in the comments, Silver Fox, you stated you just watched her documentary. In the comments, and by the way, the box is open, but in the comments, if you will, or however you want to express, let me know what you thought about the documentary. I do want to see it. Why anybody still debating the cause of his death deflect much Candace Owens. And that's the case, is that when George Floyd originally was killed and Derek Chauvin there was folks demanding that he be held accountable, Candace Owens made a video back then suggesting that Derek Chauvin was wrong, but African Americans were doing a terrible job, basically, I guess, idolizing George Floyd. And she mentioned his entire criminal record, charges dating back to 2004. And George Floyd did have some horrible charges on his record. I believe he stormed into some woman's apartment and held her at gunpoint and robbed her or whatever. But time for those charges, and those charges were damn near 20 years prior to what she was talking about. So why bring this up at this man's death other than for one reason? To illustrate that you believe he was a piece of shit and he got what he deserved. That's what Candace Owens was trying to say without saying it. And that's how her audience feels. That is also why anytime an officer is involved in a controversial shooting, arrest, or behavior, the first goal of the police department is to quote unquote dirty up the victim. Because if you can convince society, if you can convince the American public that the person you victimize is a piece of shit, they have less sympathy for him. That's why you're always going to hear that. By the time they got done with Trayvon Martin, they were bringing up that he told lies to his teacher in school. They were bringing up that he smoked weed. There was not a lot to find on Trayvon Martin. So they presented whatever they could come up with. That is done to dirty up a victim. He was truant from school. He didn't show up. Find anything you can on this person and dirty him up. Because the worse they look, the more likely society will suggest that, well, you know, what do they call it? Nature played its course. You know, survival of the fittest or thinning the herd is the phrase I'm looking for. By the way, tap your screen, get your boy up to 5,000 likes. Folks are suggesting that, I see in the comments, John, drop the hat. Why do I have to drop the hat? I absolutely enjoy talking to MAGA. We have a difference of opinion. That's fine. But fact is, in this political climate, we have become so divisive that the moment you see someone with a name like mine, if you are MAGA or come from the right, you don't want to say shit to me. I am here to suggest that both sides of the aisle can have a civilized conversation. That's what we're doing here. You worship it, says John. Do you just hear me talk about Candace Owens and say she plays to her crowd? She's preaching to the choir. Police dirty up victims. Does that sound like some shit someone would say if they're worshiping MAGA? You need to follow the program more, John, and I'd be honored to have you in the box. Come on here. You can make me look like a fool in front of 80 plus people that are in the box right now. I don't ban, I don't block, I don't censor. I will make you that promise. I generally give my callers, my guests, 10 minutes of time or more. So if you believe I am idolizing MAGA, or I look like an Uncle Tom, an Uncle Ruckus, or some form of sellout, my box is open to you. I'm here. I just need you. Looking back in the comments, double standards. Trump and his documentaries are wrong, but Hillary and her documentaries are not. What documentary, what documentaries was Hillary Clinton? I don't know any documentaries that really came from Hillary Clinton. In fact, what documentaries really came from Trump? I don't know if any really well-known documentaries from either one of these individuals. So what do you mean when you say documentaries? Looking in the, we have bad weather because people paradise we have bad weather because people paradise MAGA more than God. John, I don't get that comment. By the way, folks, tap your screen. I try to deliver decent content. Now, this is on my backup page, the Handsome account, but unfortunately, I talked about guy with the last name of Jones, first name of Alex, losing over $1 billion. Looks like he's going to be losing over $1 billion in settlements. Tried to talk about him yesterday. I cannot control TikTok's notion that folks are not allowed free speech. Anytime you come on this program, I have made that solemn promise since I've been doing this for nearly a year now. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, when you're speaking to your humble correspondent, yours truly, you will get to state your point. I don't ban, I don't block, I don't censor. I never talk down to guests. The fact that you disagree with the host does not mean a damn thing. You will get to state your point, period. I'm voting Republican, says Master Preacher. That is your solemn right. There are a host of reasons, although I am a liberal. There are a host of legitimate reasons to vote on the right side of the aisle. Fair enough. Looking at the comments, all Trump supporters need to watch January 6th committee, 1 p.m. on CNN. Truth about loser Trump. Delta, that probably, although I do agree with that advice, that's probably the biggest issue I have personally when discussing January 6th with my beloved MAGA folks, is that it's hard to have a conversation when folks have already made their minds up about January 6th. So any testimony that comes out in regards to the J6 hearings, because they're not watching it, they're just going to automatically dismiss it. Doesn't even matter who it comes from. It could come from Rudolph Giuliani or somebody real close to Trump, and they would just say that somebody got to that guy and switched him over. So it's going to be difficult for anyone at the end of the day to see Trump being convicted. Your humble correspondent, you're looking at a definite liberal. I don't believe Trump will do a day in jail. I had a follower tell me personally, and this will always stay in my mind. He stated, there is MAGA on every jury. That comment is 100% spot on. There's also a host of MAGA judges, a host of MAGA-related prosecutors, and so on and so forth. As long as that is out there, there is absolutely no guarantee any case will go any way predictable. Because if a person is committed enough, you're never going to get a conviction from that person, period. His statement, there is MAGA on every jury, is something that I will never forget. Going to the box, we have Rainy. Welcome back, Rainy. I appreciate you coming on this side of the house, rather. Second broadcast on this profile. Rainy, good afternoon.
Thinking I was going crazy. I'm like, is this another account? Why are we followers?
I talked about Jones losing almost $1 billion in civil cases for the Sandy Hook case yesterday, and his name alone is banned on this platform. So they threw me out for a week for that. They threw me out for a week, and I actually lost one of my first appeals I've ever lost with TikTok, just for mentioning his name. But what do you think about Candace Owens coming up with a documentary criticizing Black Lives Matter raising money and suggesting that George Floyd did not die at the hands of the Minneapolis police?
I feel like you're gonna trigger me, so I don't want to get us banned further. So I'm just going to bypass that conversation. Honestly, I think she's a disgrace. I think she is just fear for her in her own skin, and I don't know. I have nothing to say about her.
Let's go with the Black Lives Matter portion. Do you believe now there's obviously a difference between Black Lives Matter, the organization, and Black Lives Matter, the chant, the movement, etc. Let's talk about the organization. Do you believe that organization is on the up and up, fighting for Black causes, raising money for Black values and benefits?
Here's where I'm going to give you a double-sided out of my mouth. it's hard for me to believe these highly educated black women would believe they could get over and steal millions of dollars with the federal government overwatching. It just, I don't know, that's just not logical to me. However, if they did do that, and probably they did, they need to go to jail like the most people that steal money in that type of realm, right? And I haven't seen them do anything in America. What I heard them say in several interviews a year ago is that most of the money they're helping people outside of this country. That's what I
Whoa,
heard.
whoa, 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 whoa. Why would Americans donate money to Black Lives Matter, who's primarily speaking out against African Americans being mistreated in this country? Why would folks donate money to that organization for them to use it overseas?
Well, that's why they changed their whole. Remember, there was that confusion where it was the worldwide Black Lives Matter Foundation or whatever the case is. So
Mhm.
people were donating to two separate entities, not understanding there was one here in the US and then one that they were in control of that was for worldwide. And my understanding is the one that was worldwide was where the most of the money went. But anyway, neither here nor there. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have anything positive to say about the organization.
No.
Obviously, I support Black Lives Matter as a movement.
Yeah.
But like I said, it would be hard for me to believe those two women being highly educated would think that they could get over on stealing that type of money.
Well, but
I don't know. I
most,
find it hard
yeah,
to
but most
believe.
people, most, I would submit to you that most people that steal that kind of money are highly educated. The Bernie Madoffs, the Enron type folks, they all are highly educated.
Yeah,
That's
but
how they're able to pull that off.
there's a difference between white people and being rich and a black person knowing damn well they ain't gonna let us get away with nothing. So that's where my premise comes from. Black people are not getting away with the same kind of crimes as a smart white man or someone else who was willing and able to, steal from charity funds or whatever the case is. That's why I say I
Well,
find it hard to
I
believe.
I gotta somewhat disagree with you. Kwame Kilpatrick, the mayor of Detroit. I could bring up Jesse Jackson Jr.'s son when he was a congressperson in the Chicago area. There are plenty of African Americans that have gotten over for ripping people off of millions. It does happen. I mean,
Mm.
watch American Greed. If you watch American Greed alone, it doesn't happen as much because if you're trying to raise a bunch
But
of
my
money
point
as an
is, are
African
they
American.
getting away with it? Those people were punished, right? If I remember correctly, all of those people went to jail you just mentioned. I said getting away with it, right? No one's getting away with like some of these crimes, like the Trump family. They got away with stealing from the charity that was supposed to be for kids cancer. They only had to pay fines. They didn't go see a day in jail, right? So my point is getting a go ahead. Go ahead.
Now, I would bring up Mary. What is his name? He used to be the mayor of D.C., Marion Barry. He ended up getting reelected, and he was committing all kinds of fraud in office. And he was
He's
the
the
mayor
one
of
that got
D.C.
caught with the hookers, right?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I can assure you, there are plenty of African Americans that are getting away with crimes. For the most part, you probably haven't heard of them. They're just doing like in Chicago, where I'm from. It is a ton of schemes, scams, and licks going on, and that whole government is ran by black folks. We do get away with some shit. I don't. There's no
Mm.
way. It's just on a smaller level because if you're black and you're trying to scam folks donating to you, you're getting donations generally from poorer people. You have a smaller pool of people, but black pastors driving around in Cadillacs and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that to insult the black community. I'm just pointing out it does happen. There's no denying it
Listen,
happens in our
listen.
community as well.
I shouldn't be so what's the word? Just generic in my statements
Okay.
because you're right,
All right.
it does happen. But I actually jumped on your live because you started saying that you started talking about Republicans and that there's some validity in voting for Republicans. And I just wanted to push back on that. Like this day and age, I voted for Republicans in my lifetime, but it's like at this point, what type of Republican would you vote for that you believe actually cares about actually, let me take this back. What has the Republican Party done for America in the last 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years? They have done nothing.
I could
Why
easily
would they
counter that.
secure a vote?
Even though I've never even, well, I have considered it, but even though I've never voted Republican in my life, I could easily counter that by just simply saying, if you're an evangelical and you believe in protecting the sanctity of life, they just, with rolling back of Roe versus Wade, which I completely disagree with, but by doing that, they have, how many infant lives are going to be saved by banning abortion? If you're an evangelical, that is absolutely a reason to vote Republican. I just don't happen to be an evangelical.
Okay, but you said you personally find reasons that you would vote for Republicans. I'm just making sure I didn't. Maybe I misunderstood what you were saying. Maybe
Okay.
I just
I didn't
completely
listen.
misunderstood.
Here's another one. For a very tiny, and I mean tiny period of time, you did have liberals suggesting that we defund the police. Fortunately, Biden and everybody else went in the opposite direction of that. But there was a short call for that. If you are a right winger and you support police, that is absolutely the notion that they're talking about getting rid of police. Or now we know defund the police really meant reallocate funds, but it was presented in a way that made us look like we were promoting anarchy. To me, that's a reason to get away from that and vote on the right. There's plenty of other reasons I could come up with, but I'm just saying, even as a liberal, I can see reasons to vote Republican. If you believe Christianity, you believe Jesus Christ is the only God, the one true God, and this other religion is promoting atheism and all these other religions you disagree with, it makes more sense to vote
And
Republican.
I guess
I
that's
come
where
with
I
all
find
of
this.
it.
I know you got other callers, so I'll leave it at this. I guess where I push back is we know the people that are being elected, they don't believe the shit that they're talking about. So are you just voting because you think Democrats don't believe in God? Like it's so wild to me what's happening in society in the last 5 or 6 years, where we've all just become so much of a tribalized vote now, and none of it makes sense. These people that they're running don't give a shit. All they care about is entertainment. This is all entertainment, like Donald Trump. We had an entertainer for a president for 4 years, and now everybody in Congress thinks that this is all a game. Our lives are not games.
Fair
This is
point. Well, I will
serious
tell you this.
business.
I will tell you this in regards to your comment that the people we vote for don't give a shit about us. That definitely is true, but you're not going to escape that no matter what side of the aisle you're on. There were plenty of people who were saying that Bill Clinton and his wife don't give a shit about what's happening in inner cities. I mean, that happens on both sides of the aisle. But I'll give you the last word. I appreciate you coming through.
All right, darling. Well, I'll talk to you. That's all I had to say on that. I hope you have a great day. I haven't seen you in a while, so I wanted to hear your voice. Talk to you later.
Absolutely a pleasure. Come on back through anytime, Rainey. All right, looking in the comments before to the box. I see folks are in the box. Hey, folks, real quick, this is the second live I've done on this particular page. I'm going to ask that you follow this particular page so that when they're banning me for bullshit, particularly talking to my MAGA folks, because for some reason when you start speaking to MAGA, the bans come out. This is not an echo chamber, folks. You will never hear yours truly bashing one side of the aisle exclusively. There are plenty of reasons to dislike both sides of the aisle. And I will always call a spade, regardless of who is dealing the cards. That is a promise from your humble correspondent. Going back to the box, we have freedom for all, another friend of the. All right. Good afternoon, sir.
How you doing, brother? I just came in here because I'm always watching you in here. Sometimes give comments in here, sometimes not good comments, and sometimes stuff that I don't agree with. I apologize,
Feel it can be passionate.
but I'm being honest. But I came in here for support, okay? And
Thank you.
I'm gonna say great because great. We can't use a certain word on here, so I'm gonna say great. Okay, I have two children. They were great in the system. My 23-year-old came back to me years later. He told me a story about the foster parents raping him and molesting him, and then a social worker. I have a daughter that is turned 17 that is raped in the system, and they're
What
covering
system?
it
Wait
up.
a minute. Are you talking about the school system, the church? What system are you referring to?
Children and family services, sir.
Oh.
Now I have now last Friday on the 7th, they told me about a third victim. He's half Native and half Black. My ex, she's African American, and we made a beautiful son together. And he's in the system. His name is Jay Sean. He's 8 years old, and they're saying that the social workers didn't want to tell me nothing was going on, but
Okay,
now
wait a minute, wait a
the
minute. First, I have to ask you, as a parent, how did your children end up in the system to begin with? Because that's not a natural occurrence with a parent and a child.
um,
How did the system get a hold of your children to begin with?
well, I had custody of some of my kids, but when I found out that my daughter, I was making a lot of noise about my daughter being molested, and there was going stuff going around. They decided to team up on me, take my children, take me for 14 months in prison. They tried to make me a deal, lesser charge. I didn't want to take that deal. I'm an innocent man. They took my children because I've been telling the truth the whole time what's going on with my children, and they're trafficking my kids. They make up allegations. There are false allegations. Uh, Sir, I know it's hard to believe, sir, but
No,
this is where
no.
I'm at
Wait,
in
wait,
it.
wait.
You know?
Let me be clear. I never talk down to my guests. I understand you. The problem is, I'm probably not going to be able to talk to you about this in detail because you're talking about prison time and things like that. There's obviously a hell of a lot more to this story than just the
Yeah,
details you're giving me so far. And it goes so far off the current topic we're talking about of Candace Owens. I would love to talk to you about it, but it's so far off the current topic that there's no way I can entertain it because I already got about 20 questions to ask you based on what you've already presented and you weren't done yet. So I'm going to have
yes.
to ask that we talk
Well,
about this on another broadcast because yeah,
yeah, I'm
your
just
conversation is
asking.
pretty deep.
Yeah, I'm just asking just to look at my profile and some of my stories and to follow me on TikTok and to follow me on Facebook. My name is Leonard Garcia. I'm an activist now. I fight for children and I fight for families and staying together. I'm asking for the support from the Black community and the Hispanic community for my son Jay Sean. They said that the foster parent molested him. They're being investigated and they're trying to cover it up again. This is my third child. They took my other kids, adopted them because of all this. They're committing perjury. They're and I'm just asking for support, sir, and from real people
Send
out
me,
there, American people.
send me what you got to my actual email address because I would actually it might be worth doing an actual live on it. But unfortunately, like I said, I gotta move it on because what you're talking about is a completely different topic than what we were discussing
Yes, sir.
here. But I'm interested in it. So send me
Thank you,
what you
sir.
got to this profile and I'll talk to you outside of it. But I don't want to go completely off what we're talking about
Okay.
because your
I
story
just
is completely different.
Yeah, I just came in here just to tell you just a little bit, and you could do some research.
Okay.
Everyone could follow me, do some research on me. I need more support. Okay, I really
All
do.
right.
I need everyone to look at this closely and
Okay.
tell me what
All right.
went wrong there.
Okay.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right. Well, I gotta move it on. Definitely send me what you got, and we'll talk about it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All
Have a
right.
good day.
Appreciate it. All right. Go ahead and click yours out. Got some issues over here with me. All right, looking in the comments, and I seen a few folks that were suggesting they'd like to hear what he had to say. So would I, but I don't want to. It would destroy what we're discussing right now, and because what he's talking about definitely warrants looking into. I don't know how much we could do here, but you never know. But yeah, it's a completely different topic, so I was trying to let him know that. Looking in the comments. Joe Biden policies are terrible. Trump results were amazing. Leonard, or what does that say? Leon Archer, rather. In regards to Joe Biden's policies being terrible, his economy is bad. Inflation rates are bad. But we're talking now marijuana laws being rescinded. That's not a bad policy. In fact, I haven't even heard Republicans suggest that well, take that back. Governor Abbott in Texas wants to keep marijuana laws the same way. But even most Republicans are trying to suggest, well, he's not really freeing many people. But even most Republicans agree that what he's actually on the road to is a good thing. $10,000 to $20,000 of tuition forgiveness. There's a hell of a lot of Americans that don't believe that's a bad policy. Saving the Ukrainians from being removed from the planet Earth. There's a lot of Americans that believe the assistance he's giving the Ukrainians is a good thing. Now, I understand there's a hell of a lot of my beloved MAGA folks, what the hell is this, believe that what we're sending to the Ukrainians could be better used helping homeless, helping out veterans, et cetera, et cetera. But there's also a lot of Americans that see playgrounds getting bombed, schools being blown up, and, these are human beings. So all of Biden's policies are not bad. They are certainly not all bad. You may not like them. And this is the same argument I give my liberals about Trump. All of his policies are not bad. You just don't like them all because you're on the other side of the aisle. Good comment. I'll keep it moving. All right. Most Americans know nothing about the Ukraine. What about other countries if we're heroes? JSN, I agree with you. We cannot police every nation on earth. We cannot be involved everywhere on earth. And in some cases, particularly from the African American side of the aisle or the minority side of the aisle, we view America's involvement in other countries' affairs as racist. Because what was happening in Rwanda, the Congo, did not get as much attention. And they were doing some really medieval shit down there. Chopping off cross-limb amputation. What is cross-limb amputation? Chop off your right arm and your left leg or vice versa. Just leave you really fucked up. They were doing that in Rwanda as punishment. Chop off one side of your body on the upper limbs and one side on the lower limbs. Try walking with a cane or a crutch or some device when your dominant side is fucked up or your lower side cannot counter that. They were doing that. And you had folks like George Clooney and some of the others coming forward and saying, you're not doing anything for these people. So I do agree with you. We cannot police every nation. But there's a 2-for in getting involved in the Ukraine. Not only are we helping the Ukrainians, we're weakening one of our biggest adversaries. And make no mistake about it, for all my MAGA folks suggesting that what Biden is doing in the Ukraine is wrong, we shouldn't be helping them, they're a corrupt nation, we could use the money elsewhere, etc., etc., etc. Let me ask you this. Let's say Putin still did what he did, but Biden took your advice, talking to MAGA, took your advice. We're going to use that money to help out homeless and vets and things like that in America. And Putin actually took over the Ukraine, which is what his goal was from the start. Took completely over the Ukraine. That means Putin gets stronger and Russia gets larger under Biden's watch. You're going to tell me MAGA would say he did the right thing? Under Biden's watch, Russia got bigger and stronger. You're going to tell me you wouldn't be criticizing them for that? If you do, you're lying. So the point is, it doesn't matter what path Biden chose, he was going to lose with MAGA. He was going to lose with the Republicans regardless. Now, I understand a lot of folks believe that, well, under Trump, this would not have happened. Yours truly, your humble correspondent, I am with you. I agree with you that if Trump had served a second term, I don't believe Putin would have invaded the Ukraine. Why? Because Putin and Trump have maintained a favorable relationship long before Trump was president. I strongly believe, and feel free to come in the box. I'll be in the box in a minute. I see someone's there. You can tell me you think I'm full of it in the comments. I believe Trump would have told Putin, as long as I'm president, you don't have to worry about the Ukraine being a member of NATO. We won't send them any weapons of any significance, and we'll guarantee you can still sell oil throughout Eastern and Western Europe. And when I'm out of office, you can do what the hell you want to do. Just do not do it under my legacy. I think he could have sweetened the deal any way he wanted to with Putin, and Putin would have taken that. Because you only have to wait 4 years. Trump is only going to be around 4 more years. So we can still sell oil. We can still get rich. He's literally keeping the Ukraine on a golf tee. You just have to wait 4 years to swing at it. You can do it under the next president. I'm going to make sure they will be in no stronger position when I leave office than they are now. And I believe Putin would have strongly taken that deal. That is why I believe that Putin would not have invaded under Trump. And then 4 years from now, as opposed to him invading in 2021, he would have invaded in 2025. All right, going back to the comments. And I see Burnt says that's the dumbest thing I've heard you say. Stick around. Let me see if I can top that. Going back to the box. One True Zilla. New caller, welcome to the program regardless. True Zilla, talk to me. What's on your mind this afternoon?
Hey man, first and foremost, how's everything? How's everybody? Been listening to your comments and things of that nature. Back to the Candace Owens thing.
Yes. How do you feel about her suggesting that George Floyd did not die at the hands of the Minneapolis police?
Well, clearly, for those who watch the video, understand that the member of law enforcement the individual who was hired by the law enforcement agency who was policing George Floyd at the time, while in uniform, that's an easy debunk of that argument. Now, back to her saying that the Black Lives Matter movement and the misappropriation of the funds. Well, there's a lot of information out there that does support that. I don't disagree 100% with the woman on certain things, but on other things, I do disagree with her. The George Floyd thing, I definitely disagree with that. You know what I mean? Because clearly, and without.
Not only do I agree with you, not only do I disagree with her on it as well, but I guess I'd have to, what is the purpose of relitigating the death of George Floyd well after Derek Chauvin's conviction? What is the purpose of her coming and doing that now?
Well, to me, I think, and people can say what they want about the girl. The girl is very, very well educated. Me and my wife, we've listened to several of her conversations. I feel like she has a skewed view of things because, I'm not sure if a lot of people understand, but she's from Connecticut. Her family is very well off. And not to say that she didn't have any struggles growing up, because I'm pretty sure that, every family has dynamics. I'm going to say that many of her experiences aren't going to be the same as, say, an urban family growing up in Chicago.
I've heard that she actually had a racism lawsuit or something like that she filed in her own past.
She did. So she filed I don't know if it was a student or a teacher at her school in which she was being racially discriminated against, which she sued the school for. It was a group of students that were calling her racial slurs. She notified the school, and the school didn't take action. And so because the school didn't take action and it was documented, she ended up, hiring an attorney, or I'm not sure if she hired an attorney or her parents did. And then she took it to court and actually won it in court, and won a substantial amount of money.
So she got her start off of crying racism.
Yes. And personally, I don't disagree with the woman on a lot of different things, but I also feel like she's very arrogant. I feel like she's in love with her own voice. So there's a lot of other things, but I don't think that some of the things she's saying is wrong. Like she said one thing about, the African-American community and being held accountable, holding ourselves accountable, and taking accountability for our own communities. And I 100% agree with that. Me personally, I'm not a political figure, but I can't really talk about where I work and what I do. You know what I mean? But I'm a part of the politics in our community. You know what I mean?
Well, let me say that, and I appreciate that, but let me say this as well. I too, just like yourself, agree that Candace Owens is very intelligent, and yeah, certainly everything she says is not wrong. She definitely makes good points. My issue with Candace Owens, however, is she's all negative. Like, for instance,
Yes.
myself, I'm a 6'6", 300-pound man. I know I'm overweight. However, I don't want someone trying to get me to do better by just criticizing me every day, all day. And that is
Right.
Candace Owens' approach, is that I am going to wake up and help the Black community by just talking shit about them all day until they listen.
Right.
100% negativity never improves anyone. And that's her approach.
Well, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but she talks a lot of negativity, but she's not problem solving, right? She doesn't offer, well, this is a solution. This is how we can continue forward and do better. We all know that there's problems in our community. We all know that there's issues that we could, potentially try and solve, but I feel like many people, especially in our communities, especially those who are impoverished and less educated than others, are looking for a way to do it and a backing to have. You know what I mean? And I feel like instead of just being negative all the time, it's like my grandfather used to say, you can either focus on the problem or you can focus on the solution, right?
But
She
yeah,
focuses
but in the
mostly on the
comments,
problem.
okay, well, because here's D Far in the comments, is DP Har or D Far in the comments is disagreeing with you and I. He's stating that Candace always, quote unquote, always provides solutions. It's just that liberals do not want to hear them. Is it possible that she's giving us the path to success and we're just turning a blind eye to it? Do you hear her offering solutions like he's suggesting in the comments? I
I
don't
mean,
see it personally, but I'll let you have it.
well, see, and here's where we can agree to disagree. You know what I mean? Because we could be told that we need to go left, but some people just have the inkling to go right. Does she, sit here and say, well, she brings light to the issues that are occurring in the African American community? Absolutely. A smart person would say, if these are an issues that are a commonality, then this is how we can fix them. Now, and does she take positive steps towards it? I mean, her podcast and her documentaries, I think that they definitely shine the light on things. But I think that if, instead of arguing so many points, with her, I think that if she showed more videos of her taking action, right? In the community, talking about, like one thing that I do, right? So I work, heavily in my community. And one of the community-based programs that I do is, I walk the streets of the city that we are in, which is one of the worst cities in the country. And, I speak with the people, whether it be the drug dealers, the homeless, the successful, the
You're trying to
hospital
change
workers.
hearts and minds. You're trying to change
Right,
hearts and minds.
because instead of focus, we already know that there's problems, right? We already
Right.
know that we have issues going on. People could sit back and argue, well, slave mentality, this and that, right? All right, we're beyond that at this point. We've had these conversations for at least 50 years now. Okay,
Yeah,
how do we move
I get your
forward?
point. Yeah, I get your point. We certainly don't want to fall into the endless, what do they call it, victim blaming or playing victim all the time. But listen, I do got to move it on. I got to part ways with you. I'll give you the last word, but I got other folks. I do got to move it on.
I
And I
appreciate
appreciate the fact that you are walking in the community, speaking to others, because that's one of the things we always are told, is that we don't give a shit about black on black violence and we do nothing. I would submit there are lots of brothers like you in communities all over this country doing exactly that. But the last word is yours.
Well, I appreciate that, and all I can say is just for the people that are here, that are out there listening, I mean, if for us to move forward as a people, it's going to require us to band together as a people and not just hold each other accountable, but show the actions of it. Actions speak louder than words.
100%
I
spot on. Come
appreciate
on
you, my
back to
brother.
anytime. Come on back to anytime. Truth. Got to move it on. Catch
All
you on the
right.
next one. All right, looking in the comments, local activists do more than anyone. Yeah, and they get less attention than anyone to its mark. Because that's what you hear all the time. And by the way, go ahead and drop out Truzilla because I can't do it on this side. Something's going on with my device. But you hear that. Care about when a white person gets shot or when a white person kills a black person. You don't care about all the crime in Chicago, whatever. I'll tell you, as a 30-year resident of Chicago, whether it was Jesse Jackson Jr. coming there and hosting marches in the 80s and 90s, Father Pfleger was a really well-known white Catholic pastor that led marches of dozens or hundreds of black people. There are plenty of local activists, like it's Mark just mentioned. They just don't make national news. If a 7-year-old child is accidentally shot and killed by a drug dealer in the hood shooting at his rival, and black folks go and hold marches in the black community, what they were used to refer to as Stop the Violence marches, you're not going to see Fox News televising that. You know what Fox News is going to televise? The 7-year-old kid getting killed. How the community responds to it will not make the news. They're sitting around looking to see if that killer is brought to justice or let out early by a liberal judge. And they'll televise that. But all of the marches, all of the community leaders that may have donated money for her funeral service, none of that will make the news. None of that. Only her killing and whether the criminal got out early. Those are the only two things you'll hear about. Period. Looking back in the comment section, Leon Archer, 761. That's really a smart thing that you said. I appreciate that burnt coat. Leon, talk to me.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon.
How y'all doing today?
I'm doing good. Candace Owens is in the spotlight. What do you think of Candace Owens, first of all?
I think Candace, she's a diehard Republican. You know, like a lot of people listen to me and they'll say, "Oh, you know,
Nothing wrong with that.
you're mega," and I'm like, no, I'm common sense. Like I said, Joe Biden have terrible policies. This is what I mean. I used to be in the 101st Airborne Division, right inside of Iraq. You have split-second decisions. So when I look at a decision, either I'm gonna go left or right, because sometimes you don't come back from those directions, right? So if I seen the liberals fighting not to have a fence on the border, okay, wait a minute. I don't know if the fence will work or not. You haven't put one up. You see, let's put the fence up and see what happens. But an open fence cannot be better than one up there. So when I see the liberals don't want the fence, I'm like, that's interesting to me. Put the fence up, but you send money over into another country. See, I'm not a Republican. I'm looking and I'm watching you. I'm watching you take.
Let me interrupt and say this. As a liberal who voted for Biden, I am no fan of Biden's border policies. With Kamala Harris going down there and not even be able to answer the simplest questions and suggesting the border is secure, which is bullshit. So I'm not disagreeing with you on Biden in the border, but give me another Biden policy that you totally disagree with.
Okay, let me tell you this. I hear things, and I'm not an economist, so I'd be like, I don't know if that works or not. So I used to listen to what the guy named Creflo, the economic guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I sit there and I'm like, wow. He said, hey, you shouldn't put this much money in play. So we spending all this money up under Trump, whatever. And I'm like, okay, the money's at play. Here come the hyperinflation. That used to be a theory to me. I'm in the apartment game, right? I'm watching apartments go up in Memphis, Tennessee from $500, $600. People going back in there to sign a lease can't even sign a lease because they no longer qualify for it. So hyperinflation is here.
You're blaming that on Biden? Is Biden who you're citing that's responsible for hyperinflation?
No, what I'm saying to you is I always took it as a theory that we put so much money, Trump too now, I'm talking about period. We have put so much money into play. So the theory must be correct because now I'm watching hyperinflation. I'm a shopper, so I go and watch stuff go up $2, $3. I'm like, damn. You
All
know,
right, well,
my chick.
let me say this. Okay, let me ask you this. And by the way, folks, tap the screen, get your boy up to 10,000 likes. Let's see if we can have that. We got a lot of patriots and liberals on the program. So it's my second broadcast here on this side. So tap the screen. I'm asking that if you get your boy up to 10,000 likes. I'm going to ask you, Leon, because you mentioned Biden's policies. Obviously, hyperinflation is something you're suggesting that both Trump and Biden are responsible for. Let's stick to your comment about Biden's policies. Give me something that is a Biden policy that you feel is wrong for America.
Okay, like I say, I just look left and right quick like. So I look over there. If our economy still work on fossil fuel, yes sir.
Okay.
So why in the world would you be attacking fossil fuel like no, you can't have these, no you can't, we're not gonna let you drill this, we're gonna wait for this new green energy. And I'm like, where is it? Because if it's not ready for prime time, I'm looking at the people like around me that actually put fuel in they vehicle. I have never given away money in my life. Like right now, I'm good at saving, good at making money, but my family's not. So I'm
Okay,
paying.
okay, let's talk about that. A few things. First of all, we'll start with the pipeline. The pipeline going across the country, going on the land of Native Americans who never wanted the pipeline there. It also has interrupted migration of some of our animals. How do you feel about any of that? Should all of that take a backseat? How do Native Americans feel about the pipeline on their land? Considering the fact that we've lied up to the Native Americans about every damn thing. That's the reason why they have a term called Indian giver. We tell them something, we do the opposite. Do you care about how the Native Americans feel about the little land that we gave them remaining, just encroaching on it? Or should we just make sure gas is cheap?
I do care about it, but this is what I'm saying. I think we can take the wacko environmentalists and because they need to be at the table, because to me, their concerns are valid, and put the smartest tech people at the table, the smartest builders at the table. We are not talking to each other. We're screaming, putting these crazy policies up, but then when we see the results, everybody running from the results. One thing I can say about Donald Trump, that joker will break the law to get things done. When I seen him do this, when he said it takes 10 years to do, watch this. No, listen to me. He said it takes 10 years to get a road built in certain places. Donald Trump said, guess what? I just go to you and say, you want a road? Sign right here. You see what I'm saying? People
yeah, but do you believe in following the law? Are you a law-abiding citizen?
What does that mean, following the law? You said
Donald Trump will break the law to get things done as if it's an accolade. But I'm asking you, how do you feel about people breaking the law? Is it okay long as it benefits you?
I guess I misspoke. I don't mean breaking the law. There's a lot of bureaucrats that put all the bureaucracy in front of you, and it takes nothing gets done. That's what I'm saying. That's why there's no way. I'm real big in education, but I'm not a teacher. I fix what they mess up inside the schools. Okay? Because when you tell me my black child can't read, I said, wait a minute. I used to jump out of airplanes and go attack situations and people. I'm like, that's 26 alphabets. Okay, there's combinations inside the alphabets. You mean tell me if I give you this page, you can't make him read? And watch this. I go and look at the skill set and say, oh, ain't nothing wrong with your reading. You just don't know the sound when I put the AG together or the AS together, you know? So I think Trump was the kind of guy that said, wait a minute, I'm used to getting things done. First, I didn't like him. I said, this guy's a buffoon.
Why didn't you like him at first? What about him at first made you not like him?
Listening to the media. I would listen to the media. I thought it was a joke. But when he got in there, and then I noticed, I said, oh, they're not messing with this guy neither. The world leaders did not come at him.
You didn't see Vicente Fox use the F word on Trump. You didn't see Trudeau in Canada say all kinds of negative things about him. You didn't see Angela Merkel from Germany. You didn't see a baby blimp flying over the streets of London with them telling Trump not to come over. You didn't see any of that?
Yeah, but that's behind his back. Let's talk about when they was face to face with him, when he told Merkel what time it was. But check this out. Everything he told Merkel, NATO didn't want to pay their money, but they needed it when old Putin came across there, didn't it? Huh? Putin started attacking.
I am a fan of
Yeah,
making sure that the members of NATO pay
right.
their fair share. I agree with that. However, I don't agree with basically treating everybody like shit, which is what the Trump way was all about.
Okay, but the thing is, don't you now? Let's reverse this. So we sitting up here acting like we safe by not putting our money in the pot. Them boys gonna come across that border one day. Meaning, like you're not funding. Wait a minute, you're not funding NATO. So what are you actually doing? Waiting to be attacked?
Wait a minute. I disagree with that. And let me tell you why I say that. When you look at countries like North Korea or countries like Iran or some of these much smaller, weaker countries, nobody mess with them because they got a bomb or two. There's no way anybody's coming across the border to F with the United States. We don't even with NATO being underfunded, nobody was going to mess with the United States. There's no worry of that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna tell you like this. Like I said, I used to be in that apparatus. Don't sleep that sound at night. Please don't.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Because you know, they got drones now can knock the head off a tank.
Yeah, but you would understand as if you were a North Korean general or North Korean leader or an Iranian leader, you would understand that if you use one of those drones and you start harming Americans, it really don't matter if it's Trump in office or if it's Biden in office. Those countries are going to pay a hellified price. You want to talk about Biden being sleepy or out of it or having dementia? One thing about Biden is he listens to his advisors. Trump is going to go ballistic if you mess with the United States. Biden is going to listen to his advisors who are going to suggest we go ballistic if you mess with the United States. That is the most suicidal thing that any of these other nations could ever do, which is why I don't believe it's going to happen.
But you know, I wouldn't trust Biden on no foreign policies because I don't remember where he was right. Come on now,
Wait a minute.
He tried to talk Obama. He tried to talk Obama. He tried to talk Obama Osama bin Laden. Remember that?
Wait, say that again.
He tried to advise President Obama not to hit Osama bin Laden.
Right. Okay, I get what you're saying.
He said he wanted to get inside Iraq also.
Yeah, but
he was going inside of Iraq.
Yeah, but if you want to, you're going in and out for some reason. But Trump tried to bring Vladimir Putin to the White House. You think that was a good idea?
It depends on what he was trying to get done.
Did you have to bring him to the White House to do it?
I mean, I don't get it.
Take your time. I don't get that. I don't see why you need to bring this man to the White House to do anything.
Oh, so I mean, he's a world, right?
You're breaking up.
The world leader, right?
Yeah, he's a world leader. He's an adversary since World War II. Russia has never been our allies. Why would you promote him to the point where he can be legitimized by bringing him to the White House? All of the atrocities. You want to talk about the Ukraine being corrupt. When has Russia not been corrupt?
No, from day one. But I think Trump sort of operates like what my grandmother used to say: you keep your enemy close. You keep your friends close.
You don't have to invite him to the White House to do that. You don't have to invite him to the White House to do any of that. You can meet him on the world stage in a neutral country like Switzerland or something. You don't need to invite him to the White House to do that.
I hear exactly what you're saying, but I got to put this out there, and I got to move on. But check this out. Everything that the so-called experts told Trump to do, from Kim Jong-il, and, you know, he had more success than they did.
That's why they are still in Washington and he's in Mar-a-Lago. I guess that's if you want to call that success, but they all still have their jobs. All them rhinos, all them folks that Trump referred to as a swamp, they all still have their jobs and he's being investigated. I don't see the success in that.
Well, you got to understand something. You just said there's always going to be a mega in the bunch. How you think that Hillary Clinton can be brought up on all these accusations, right, about smashing servers and all this stuff, and then James Comey, who didn't even have the authorization, just wipe it off? You think we ain't see it?
Wait a minute. No, you giving James Comey the wrong kind of accolade. Without James Comey, many political analysts believe that Hillary Clinton would have been elected president in 2016. He's the one that announced she was under a federal investigation 10 days
Right.
before the election. He was
Right.
clearly not an ally
Right.
of Hillary Clinton.
But wait a minute. Let's get this understood. James Comey is designed to catch the crook and then let the prosecutor do the prosecuting.
All right, but you made it sound like he was an ally. You're making it sound like James Comey somehow was an ally of Hillary Clinton.
I'm just letting you know how this went in the way that it does not go. The police, the FBI, do not have the authorization to say what a prosecutor will and won't do. Is that not what he said? Yes.
Okay. So the point you're making, I don't get what's your point.
You don't see the point?
No, I don't.
So the point is this: James Comey, go back and look at it, said no reasonable prosecutor would prosecute her. Who is he to say who's gonna prosecute her? That's crazy.
Okay,
So, like,
well, Attorney General Jim Barr said something very similar for Trump's impeachment. He wrapped it up in 4 pages and said nothing was there. He did the exact same thing for President Trump.
What you mean nothing won there? You know when they did all that $48,000?
He took Mueller's 2 years of investigation on President Trump and wrote a 4-page memo. Now, there's nothing there. And then it became such an outrage that folks wanted to know what the hell did this man come up with? This little 4-page report you wrote is bullshit. Attorney General Barr did exactly what you're talking about Comey did for Trump.
No, Mueller should have came and said, look, you did, give me, I didn't see a crime. So why Mueller come with a crime? I
didn't see a crime on Hillary Clinton either.
Because, okay, wait, you got to understand, we talking about 2 different places here. They actually went after Trump. No,
they did. Mitch McConnell wouldn't even have an impeachment hearing on whether Trump was guilty or not. Mitch McConnell stopped the Senate from even investigating Trump. The same thing happened with January 6th when they tried to impeach him again. Mitch McConnell just stopped it. There was no investigation from the Senate in regards to Trump. That is why Trump right now to this day is constantly delaying things, because he's hoping to get a more friendly political forum to do it all over again. So I get what you're saying, but it happens on both sides.
But are you telling me Hillary Clinton never got investigated the way Trump did by Mueller?
But Trump was president. Why didn't he fire? Why didn't Trump? If Trump got up there, let me ask you this. What when Trump whispered in Hillary Clinton's ear, "If I'm president, you'll be in jail," he got elected president. What did he mean by that?
Man, come on, man. They all playing on the same side.
So Trump is the swamp.
Trump is a part of the whole apparatus.
Oh, okay. Now we talking.
No, but think about this. There is no way the Democrats want the border open for a certain reason. The Republicans want it open for a certain reason. Did George W. Bush not say that those people need to come in here and pick the fruit?
I think we came around. We went around a different way, but now that you're admitting that Trump is part of the whole apparatus and he's an insider as well, I'm with you. I got to move it on. I appreciate you coming through. Good talk. Come on back anytime, Leon. Good talk. All right, looking in the comments. I didn't think we'd get there. And go ahead and drop out, Leon, because my side don't have the X there. But I didn't think we'd get around the way we. But we did. It was a good talk with him. Durham report, trial proves the FBI used fake information to spy on the Trump team. Well, until the Durham report can come to a conviction, it's just a bunch of bullshit. No different than Mueller, and Democrats suggesting Mueller proved something on Trump, or suggesting the January 6th hearings proved something on Trump. Without a conviction, it's just your allegations and opinion. It hasn't come to any kind of conviction. So the Durham report right now is just a bunch of allegations. He didn't say, if I was president. Hillary said, in control of the law. Kathy, Trump at all of his rallies are letting his supporters yell, lock her up. when he's running for president and when he was actual president. Yet during the Trump administration, Hillary Clinton was not even investigated a single time for any crime. So when you're letting your supporters yell, lock her up, and you're the president of the United States, and you pause and smirk while they're yelling, lock her up to your face, knowing that your supporters want her locked up, you're doing nothing to help make that happen. Not even an investigation after 4 years of Trump in office. He did nothing. It doesn't matter how guilty you believe Hillary Clinton is. When you're asked as president, what did Trump do to bring her to justice? The answer has to be nothing. So if you believe she's guilty, you would also have to believe that Trump and his administration dropped the ball completely in regards to prosecuting her. Going back to the box, what was that? Rocco for life. This is our second broadcast on this. Follow the channel, by the way. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 10,000 likes. Hang on a second, Rocco. The promise I make to all folks is my preferred callers are MAGA. I don't ban, I don't block, I don't censor. I'll give you plenty of time in the box to take your point. Rocco, talk to me.
How you doing, boss? How's it going?
I'm doing good.
Excellent, excellent. Listen, I just want to say a few things here, and I definitely appreciate what you do, man. And I'm not
Thank you.
on the same side as you, but I definitely agree with a lot of stuff you say and your message out there, especially with the discourse and being able to speak about open topics and making sure that we all kind of understand each other's thoughts and thinking in the way that we do things here in America. We need to all come together in that sense, where we need to put our ideas together to
Appreciate
come
it.
up with those solutions instead of just blaming each other's side. That's a major problem we're having.
100%
Now,
agree. Totally agree.
with the Candace Owens thing, I don't really know enough about her in general. I've seen her many times online. Because I'm a conservative, I do get her quite often in my Facebook's reels and stuff like that. And it does seem like she does
Uh-huh.
do a lot of negativity pointing against the black community and the way that she does it. I mean, I understand what she's trying to do, but at the same time, I feel like she does it in a way where somebody with that platform and with that reach could do a little better. Okay.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I will submit this. If you want to point out the flaws in the black community, things that are setting the blacks back, as a black person, you can do that and also have your own charity organizations or whatever that are trying to help the black community. And I don't really know of anything Candace Owens is doing with her own platform, as you just stated, to help the black community, other than releasing critical videos of us. If she had her own charities and organizations, she could point out, look, the NAACP failed them, but look at the schools I created. Then I would agree with it. But I can't think of anything positive Candace Owens has done for the black community.
I mean, like I said, I can't think of either, but it probably I haven't really been looking. I don't know. I haven't really been
Right.
researching and that deep into her what she does. But
Um,
like I said, I have seen a lot of videos that did, and I definitely think that there's a lot of hypocrisy on certain things with the way that she may act being a conservative, with the way that others on the other side act being liberal or left leaning. There definitely are some double standards and a lot of that stuff going on. So I think that everybody should be held accountable equally when it comes to that sense. Now,
yeah.
so I don't know much more about her and what she's doing, right? But I say just let's see what happens. Let's play it out and see. I'm sure that eventually with this documentary, some people will call it BS if it is, and some people will be like, hey, you know what, she's got a point. But, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but you gotta
It's
do
still a voice,
more.
right?
But you gotta do more than simply have a point. And I've seen somebody in the comments suggest that what did they say? I can't even remember what it was. But Candace is making smart people think. You gotta do more than just call out negative shit in the black community. I mean, there are plenty of HBCUs, for instance, where black people graduate in large numbers. Trump always brags about sending money to HBCUs.
Right.
Why can't Candace Owens go and try to give a valedictorian speech or something at a college full of black people graduating? You don't see her really representing any positive African Americans. She could go talk about a black person that's in the NASA space program that's going to become an astronaut or something. It's all negative. That's
I
the
mean,
point I'm trying to make, is that if you look at, I'll let you continue,
go
but
ahead, go
I'll
ahead, go
say this.
ahead.
If you look at black folks since the time the Civil Rights Act was passed in '64 to now, there are more and more high school and college graduates among the African American community every year. A higher percentage of us graduate from high school, graduate from college. Wealth in the black community is growing, particularly when you look at just the rap music alone. They're just making millionaires all over the damn place. They have their own labels and products and all kinds of shit. She's only talking about the negative, though. None of the gains or positivity at all. Just all negatives. I
Right.
don't get how that benefits anyone. I'll
I
give it to
agree.
you. Go ahead.
I definitely agree with that. Now, there's many organizations out there that she could be bringing to light that with her, like I said, with her reach. And I worked for the YMCA for 9 years in New York City, and all we did was work with inner city kids, and those kids would get free programming, free after school programs, free summer camp programs, and those were things that I saw that the YMCA is a nonprofit, and there's a lot of other out there. You got like the ABC Youth Foundation, you got All Star Project, Inner City Youth. There's so many different organizations that are doing, or at least trying to do the right thing and bring in the things that we really need, which is more programs for those inner cities. And I'm Hispanic, so like I was part of that growing up in New York City. I was part of that program where I felt lucky to have the YMCA, where I started as a kid, and then I started working for them as a youth teenager, and then I worked my way all the way to director with them. And I could definitely see how that helps a child in a city to become their own personality and to see that it's not just negative stuff. So I definitely agree with
Yeah.
that. I just wanted to say one other thing that you mentioned earlier. You were talking to the other gentleman about Ukraine, and I'm very
Sure.
close to this situation. My wife happens to be Ukrainian. She's from Kharkov, which is the second largest city in Ukraine, and I'm very relative, and I'm very familiar with Ukraine. I've been there several times, and I got family there right now. I have family that had to come in April when the war started, or the war started in February, but we got them in April, and they're here with me right now in my home with my wife and her parents.
Wow.
And then I also have people that are in the military in Ukraine right now, in on the floor fighting. Okay, so I'm very, and when it comes to what you were saying, give me a bad policy that Biden is doing, and I'm not saying we shouldn't help Ukraine, because we promised them that if that ever was to happen, we were going to help them. That was part of that
Right.
agreement, right? That
Right.
happened. I can't remember exactly when, but
In
it
the
was part of that
'90s, in the
agreement,
'90s under Bill
right?
Clinton, we promised
So,
that if they gave up their Soviet era nukes, we would
right,
make sure that they were protected.
exactly. So that's part of it. But my problem with it is that there's a lot of money that's going out there that is unclaimed and hasn't even, like, people don't even know where this money's going. And the reason why I say that is because even Zelensky said that like 70% of the money that they said they've given, they don't even know where it is. Not only that, America has sent over $100 billion, but every other country out there has sent the money too.
Yeah, but you're never going to have any cause, even if it's a trusted organization like the Red Cross. There's always going to be something corrupt in that organization. You're never going to have 100% of the funds sent over there being used in a 100% honest way. If you take apart every charity organization you can find dirt and corruption. You can't use that as a reason to stop helping people, because we know without the assistance going to the Ukraine by the West, that nation would probably have ceased to exist already.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think that the actual, and I'm speaking, I know the answer to this, but do you think that the Ukrainian people are actually getting money in their pockets right now from the money we've given them?
Shit, if your country's being bombed up, what can you really even do with money? I mean,
Right.
if the
No,
fucking grocery store is blown apart, if you could have $1 million, it means nothing. They
you're
found
right.
Saddam Hussein with $750,000 in a hole. The
Right.
money is useless.
Right. But it still helps you to survive. It still helps you to get money and I mean, not money, sorry, food and rations and the things that are essential for you to
Can't
live,
see
right? And
how.
and just to give you a
See
perspective, right?
how I don't see that. I can't see how having paper money would benefit you if you're walking around a war-torn country. At that point, it's the barter system,
So how do you
and the
survive?
strongest survive. Having a bunch of paper bills on you means nothing in a Mad Max type environment.
I don't. I would disagree with that because there's still
Okay.
people. People still need to eat. People still need to get,
Yeah.
especially if their house got blown up, which happens to be the case with my father-in-law and mother-in-law. So their whole like building was blown up to pieces. I don't know if you're familiar with Kharkov and that city. It was literally blown to pieces, the whole city. Okay,
Okay.
every government building, everything. So when you lose everything, you have to relocate it. And if you're in that country still, like I said, there's people that I know that are there right now on the ground. They have no electricity in a lot of places. They have barely any water that they can drink. You still need money to get those things because obviously
So
then
what
it
do you
becomes
so what are you suggesting?
monetized.
The U.S. not help?
So no, well, what I'm suggesting is, and what I'm telling you is that I know people firsthand having to receive $0,
Okay.
$0 from the money that Biden himself on TV said we're giving more money. We're going to send another $40 billion. He literally said these words so the Ukrainians have a little bit of money in their pockets. Yet I have 7 people that have Ukrainian accounts, they have money in the bank or bank accounts from Ukraine, and they've received $0. Zero.
Okay. So you don't
So
believe the
that to
money
me
you don't believe the
bothers me.
money is being divided. You don't believe the money is being divided correctly. Okay, I get that. So what are you suggesting we do?
We need to a point, if we're giving this much money out, first of all, and that's just, like I said, America, because every other country is giving billions of dollars to them as well, right? And I understand that a large portion of this is going to the war and money, weapons and technology and the things that they need to fight the Russians off. I'm not for Putin, I guarantee it, right? But there definitely needs to be some kind of appointment or somebody that's, and I know this is hard to say, easier to say than done, but we need to pay attention to where this money is going to allocate it to the right sources so that the people that are actually suffering in this war that Americans think the money's going to, because we don't think that the money's only going to weapons. We
Okay.
think that the money's
So
going to the people.
how do you answer? Okay, Ball, what is it? Huge Ball Steeny in the comments that said 40 billion in aid. Hello, they aren't giving individuals money. How do you respond to a comment that the money that we're telling you that we're sending to Ukraine is not actually in physical money, but in aid and assistance to these countries?
Right.
How do you respond to that?
Okay, well, aid, but that was 40 billion. What happened to the first 70 billion?
That was in aid as well.
So aid is as in what? What aid? Because weapons
Weapons,
is
it could
not
be
all the aid that the
It could
Ukrainian
be
people need.
food. It could be dropping crates of food. It could be anything, but it's
Right.
not physical money.
Right. No, I understand. But Biden's word himself, he said we're going to do in the last one that he said that we're going to pull the 40 billion. He literally said the words so that Ukrainian people can have some money in their pockets. That's when I decided I'm like, wait a minute, wait. So they're not getting no money in their pocket. Maybe they're getting some aid. But I'm gonna tell you one other fact that I know firsthand. You know that the first and this is in Kiev, which is the capital of Ukraine. Okay,
Right.
my wife's sister is in Kiev with her husband, who's in the military. The first packet of aid that they receive when it comes to provisions, rations, and food and diapers, and I forgot all the other stuff that they had, came about 4 weeks ago. The first time it ever gotten there, and this war started in February. So that tells me something's not right.
Okay. I don't disagree. I mean, Ukraine was a very corrupt country
It
before this
is.
took off. So I
Right.
don't I don't disagree. I
Unfortunately, you're
will
right.
tell you this. I will tell you this. If America got invaded and we were receiving help from the British or something very similar to what we're doing with the Ukraine, I can guarantee you the money being handed out in this country would not be handed out at an equal rate either. You would have black folks talking about we're not getting any of the money and shit. I mean, that just happens. I'm not defending it, but I can guarantee you that would happen anywhere, including in America. That money, because it happens right now that they allocate money for certain projects, and people in this country are saying, well, the streets in my neighborhood are not
There's,
being fixed and repaired like the streets in your neighborhood. That
right.
happens everywhere.
I agree. I agree. And I honestly, I think that the people of America actually help the people of America more than the government does nowadays. Because look, especially with the technology we have with GoFundMe's and all these things, there's so many people that are willing to give. The ones that are more fortunate, willing to give to the situations, like the Jackson, Mississippi thing, and the water issue in Michigan, and many other situations like Florida. Like I literally see people TikToking and with trucks of food and water that they took to Florida with this whole hurricane thing. Like that's our people helping each other out. I think that the human race is so like generous in a lot of ways, and a lot of these things are not being viewed. And I just hate the message that is going out there that we don't, whether you're on one side or the other, that we're not helping each other out, because I believe that Americans are helping each other more than the government is helping us right now.
I can't speak on that. I don't know. But I got to move it on, Rocco. Hey, is this our first time talking?
It is. I've tried to get on the live several times, but you've ended it early, and I unfortunately haven't been able to get in there. I do follow you for a very long time. You were one of the first people I saw when I joined TikTok maybe 3-4 months ago. I definitely appreciate your words. So thank you again for giving me the platform to be able to speak and just give my ideas and what I think. So it's definitely.
Absolutely a pleasure. Absolutely a pleasure. You're welcome back anytime. All right, I'm gonna move it on. Go ahead and clear it out, but I'll go ahead and move it on. If we use blockchain, we would see where every penny went. I don't know do that in a war zone though. You can see where your money goes in regards to the Ukraine, but the people on the ground are the ones that are going to be willing to go in these villages and communities. The Americans are not going to want to go in those communities. You can only trace it down so far in the chain of command before you're going to have to trust that it's being handed out right. I gave money to Zelensky. Zelensky gave it to 3 or 4 generals or 3 or 4 governors of parts of his country or whatever. They gave it to some mayors. Unless you're on the ground following that money into some very dangerous war zones, you're just going to have to trust them at some point. You're not going to go walk through every neighborhood and verify every family is receiving money equally. That's just too dangerous to do. They're actively being bombed. A couple days ago, they got like 80 missiles up their ass from Russia. You want to do all that just to maintain the checks and balances? Before you know it, now you got Americans being killed. Or you can let the Ukrainian do it, but then you got to take his word. You can have a Ukrainian auditor walking around, but for all you know, the auditors may not be telling you the truth. For all you know, even if you let Americans go throughout the country and make sure the money is being dispersed properly, how do you know the Americans are not crooked? How do you know the Americans are not being told, well, if you say this neighborhood received this amount of money and they did not, you can keep 10% of it. Money and power corrupts people. Doesn't matter what nation you are from. Looking in the box, huge, bald, tiny weenus. Now that is a time talking. Welcome to the program. We're really talking about Candace Owens. Hang on a second. Huge ball, tiny weenus. Real quick. By the way, folks, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 10,000 likes. There's plenty of patriots in here and liberals alike. I don't ban, I don't block, I don't censor. I'll give you plenty of time in the box to state your point. We're talking about Candace Owens. Many of folk are saying that she just tells the truth. And my whole take on it, coming from your humble correspondent, is she does it in a manner that is 100% negative and critical of the Black community, which should surprise no one, absolutely no one, why Blacks don't like her. By the way, in regards to telling the truth, before I get to you, huge, tiny weenus, huge, bald, tiny weenus, I will just say this. As a Black man, I could find every white criminal in existence and point out that how he was a piece of shit or whatever. I would be telling the truth. Find every white child abuser or every white rapist and just put them on my program. I would be telling you 100% facts, but it's all negative. What white person is going to think I'm trying to wake them up by doing it that way? Huge balls. Talk to me.
I tend to agree with you. I don't know if you want people that agree with you on, but I think
No,
I think the
I'm fine with
manner
that.
I think the manner and the stories that she covered,
Presentation.
I think they're very sensational. I think you're exactly right. I think if there's 100 white murderers and there's one Black murderer, she's gonna do a hour story on the Black murderer, and it's kind of
Yep.
you can use statistics to prove your point, and you can use them to disprove your point. And if you're only using the statistics that support your narrative, then it's pretty clear what you're trying to push.
Yeah. 100% agree. Someone said that in the comments, liberals don't like her. Well, yeah, her whole persona is attacking liberals. Has she said anything that a liberal should like? But I agree with you. Yes, you can skew things in a way that makes things only look negative and still be telling nothing but the facts. I mean, Trump, what is it, the Stop the Steal, where he was raising money to supposedly stop the election from being stolen. He raised $250 million. Clearly, all that money did not go to protecting the election from being stolen. And Candace Owens is not doing an expose on that. Where did the money go? Where did this $250 million that all of his supporters, MAGA, where's the accountability for how their money was spent? So yeah, you're right. Candace Owens is only going to do fraud when it's related to black people. I agree with you 100% there, Hughes Boss. You're on mute there, Huge. Your device went on mute. You guys are known for using your statistics to push your narrative. The champ, round 7. You're correct. You're absolutely correct. We liberals, African Americans, yeah, we are known for using statistics to push our narrative. But so are whites. So are conservatives. So are many independents. So many news outlets. That is how politics works. Anyone that is trying to present an agenda to you. Hell, if a guy is trying to sell you insurance or vacuum cleaners, he's probably doing that shit. Huge Balls, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think my biggest issue comes from just clearly misrepresenting narratives. Like if we're talking about police brutality, for example, then the next statistic Candace might bring up is black on black crime. And yes, there is skews within the black community of killing other black people, but that is not the conversation we're having. When I'm talking about police brutality, the number you're bringing up has literally nothing to do with the conversations.
Yeah, it's a diversion. It's a divert. And I will say this for folks who often ask that question: why you don't care about when black on black crime happen and you care about a white person? Fact is, there is a meaning behind the phrase "no justice, no peace." If a black person in the hood kills another black person, the only reason that black person is not in jail is because they ain't found him yet. If a white person kills a black person, you often hear it was justified or he's on paid leave. You don't hear that when a black person kills another black person. They're in prison. What are you going to protest? If the person is faces justice right away, there's nothing to protest. That's why there's a difference between black on black crime and white on black crime, is because the white person is generally still walking around the streets free.
Yeah, I'm gonna. We're just agreeing too much. I'm gonna let you bring somebody else in.
Hey, come on back anytime, man. Appreciate you coming through.
I wanted to talk to Rocco, but that just turns into a cluster when you have too many people.
Fair enough.
But,
all right, well, I appreciate
you
coming through.
Good
Thanks
afternoon.
for the support. Okay, you too. And that's the point I was trying to make. You guys who are tuned in, is that the reason it seems like we don't care about black on black crime is not because of the crime, it's because of the lack of justice. Our penal systems are in no short supply of African Americans that have been convicted of violent crimes towards other African Americans. Like I just stated, if you are a black person and you kill another black person, the only reason why you're not in prison is they ain't found you yet. You don't hear of a bunch of African Americans getting off with killing black people. If a black person goes out and kills a young child or something by accident that did not deserve to die, and the guy was a clear-cut bad guy and they let him off, we'll go nuts on that too. It just doesn't happen. You don't hear black people getting off on controversial killings of other black people. We would certainly go nuts on that as well. That is the only reason why it seems like white killings are getting more attention, is because they get better treatment from doing it. Derek Chauvin, for instance, we talked about Candace Owens. Derek Chauvin with that horrendous homicide of George Floyd. 9 minutes on the guy's back, neck, or whatever. Not only that, but the guy has his hands in his pocket and he's literally surfing on George Floyd's back like he's filming a Captain Morgan alcohol commercial. Not even fidgeting or fighting with him at all. For those who suggest that, well, George Floyd is still fighting. 9 minutes. If he's fighting for 9 minutes, why is his hands in his pocket? So we see that on television. and 4 days go by where Derek Chauvin is not even charged with a crime. That doesn't happen in the black community. You're not going to be on videotape committing a crime like that as a black person on another black person that loses their life, and we know where you live, we know where you're at, and there's no arrest for 4 days. That doesn't happen. If it did happen, you'd have plenty of African Americans demanding that something be done about that and probably firebombing that person's house. So I'm just going to let you know, it's not that we don't give a shit about a bad black guy. It's the system goes after the person. Hence the phrase, no justice, no peace. When a black person is bad, justice is swift. They don't get away with it. George Zimmerman, another prime example, sees a black person going through the neighborhood in the middle of the night, decides to pursue him at the adverse advice of 911. The 911 operator's telling them, you don't need to do that. He's already made up his opinion. These people always get away with stuff. That's what he's telling the operator. These people always get away with stuff. At the end of the day, George Zimmerman somehow claims he caught up with Trayvon Martin, and Trayvon Martin just started beating the hell out of him for no reason at all, and he had to kill him. 2 hours. They've already sent George Zimmerman home with his firearm. They wrapped that up in 2 hours. For folks who suggest that Black Lives Matter has done nothing for the black community, you would have gotten zero justice on George Zimmerman. Even though he was found not guilty and acquitted of the crime, the whole trial would not have happened without Sharpton and Black Lives Matter. Same thing probably with George Floyd and certainly Ahmaud or whatever his name is down in Georgia, the guy who was supposedly jogging, went into a vacant house and the 3 guys shot him. None of those cases happened without Black Lives Matter, because in all 3 cases, they just wrapped that shit up as justified and moved on. Same thing with Ahmaud Arbery down in Georgia. They wrapped that up the same day. This is over with. This is good. It's a legitimate case. It's over with. Until they go down there and show the video and start protesting and shit like that. So, Black Lives Matter is causing people to come to trial that would not have. But anyway, with the George Zimmerman case, you go chase through the neighborhood in the middle of the night. Let's say I'm talking to my MAGA folks who may be Caucasian. Your car breaks down in a black neighborhood. You got no bars. 2, 3 o'clock on a Saturday night, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you're driving from point A to point B, and it happens to take you through a black neighborhood. You're armed. Second Amendment lovers out there, shout out. So am I. You're armed. Your car just happens to break down in a black neighborhood, and you have no bars on your cell phone. So you got to go walk through the neighborhood looking for a payphone or some business that's open so you can make a call to get some roadside assistance or something like that. While you're walking through the black neighborhood, a black person sees you and thinks you're up to no good and start pursuing you through the neighborhood just like George Zimmerman. What's going to happen when that person catches up to you and they're already in the mindset that you're a bad guy? You think there's going to be a friendly interaction? That's what George Zimmerman put himself in. Do we know that all of a sudden Trayvon Martin just decided to start beating up the guy that was following? We don't know. We never will know. Maybe George Zimmerman is telling the truth. We don't know that. But the method of his operations literally guaranteed there would be a conflict. Because he's chasing the guy in the middle of the night that he doesn't know under the guise that the guy is a bad guy, and he's carrying a firearm. What are you going to do, perform a citizen's arrest? What are you going to do, demand the guy tell you where he's going, where he lives? You have no right as a citizen to demand any of that. So what are you chasing him for? What's going to happen when you catch up to him? Well, you see what took place. Anyhow, folks, listen, I am unfortunately on lunch break, so I got to end the live. But I am on here at 7 p.m. Central. I appreciate you guys who've been rolling with me. You could be anywhere you want to be on social media. The fact that you're here rolling with your boy, I'm honored, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on. I make it clear, it doesn't matter if you agree with me or disagree with me. I'll give you plenty of time in the box to get your point across. period. And I don't ever talk down to guests. In fact, my preferred guests are MAGA. Follow the broadcast. I'll catch you tonight at 7. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. I'm out.